Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Steve Barber, and joining me, as always, is the absolutely fabulous co-host, Dwaylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, I figured try a new adjective, see how, see how you try it on, see how it fits. But wow, it's been a week since we ever record because, let's see, Monday I had a slight problem with my internet. Namely a piece of farm equipment came by and snapped my cable. That happened last Friday, and they were not able to fix it until this past Tuesday, which means it was going to be kind of hard to record on Monday because because I found out I did figure out how to get the hotspot working through my phone. But of course, when four of us are trying to use a hotspot, and we also found out that once we hit 3 gigs of data, which took about half an hour, all of a sudden, the speed drops down to the company I go through for my cell phone. They dropped the rate down to 128 kilobauds.
Ooh,
that was the speed of the fastest dial-up modem.
Yeah. I had that speed at one time when I had dial-up.
Oh, and you were like, "Whoa, yes!" Thailand.
Yeah, back then it was like lightning back then, but but now it's like
you look at what you got 56.6. Nope, I got 128 right here. Cruising. Got Napster too. Using dial-up and Napster, and then LimeWire, FrostWare, BearShare, all the other file share things. But anyway, they came out Tuesday, and they basically, I'd already kind of prepped them beforehand to say, hey, I can tell y'all right now what's wrong, and I actually was not here. I was at my office, which ironically enough, I work for the company that provides my cable, and so I did not actually know the person personally who came out, but I've seen his name on some stuff because I do stuff. But my wife and my daughter, they were here, and they said, he was nice as can be and did a good job, but they were able to point out, bless you. See,
thank you.
You got them allergies going on from this mowing lawn.
Okay. I think I'm good now.
So
I think I'm all right.
But they pointed out, all right, that's what happened, so it wouldn't take them as long to figure out. By the way, there's a hornet's nest in the boxes on the side of the house, and that neighbor's a jerk. But unfortunately, the pole is about a foot onto his property. So just giving you a warning, he's a jerk. Hopefully he won't, and he didn't,
Wow, that's good.
Well, I think last year, having the cops show up at his house to tell him to stop harassing us and threatening to shoot us.
That probably kind of changed his tune a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Because he's in his late 70s, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you don't want to have your grandkids come visit you in jail.
No.
Because I won't beat up somebody elderly, but I ain't going to lose any sleep about putting one in jail if they threaten me.
Nope. Me either.
Yep. Age does not give you a pass for acting like a jerk.
Absolutely not. No, it does not.
Yeah. In fact, I will say there's a lot of things that don't give you a pass for acting like a jerk. I'll have to tell you some things about that later. But as far as wrestling goes, we've had some interesting news items. One, to be honest with you, not that unexpected in a way. Speaking of somebody being in their 70s, what is Ric Flair thinking?
He's probably broke.
He might be.
At this point, he has gotten to be, it's just laughable. I've seen clips on TikTok where he's been in bars and there's these young women up here and he's doing that ridiculous dance that he does and everything. And it's like, those girls are old enough to be your great granddaughters. Stop.
Yep.
You're just being creepy at this point. And it's like, and now he's going to wrestle a match at 73, 74 years old
with a pacemaker.
It's like, what are you thinking? Why would you risk? He was literally no exaggeration. He was literally at death's door a couple of years ago and was able to come back from that. So it's like, take care of yourself. You have children and grandchildren. It's like, instead of thinking, don't, not just yourself, you have other people that are worried about you.
Yeah, because his grandkids don't want to see Pop Pop get hurt, because that's what they call him, is Pop Pop.
Yeah.
They don't want to see him get hurt. And Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque, who just had a defib put in, he had it, and he's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, he's like, I'm done.
I'm not
never
risk
wrestling
it.
again.
Yeah, I'm not going to risk it. It's life is too important. Me spending time with my family is too important. So I'm done.
Yeah,
not Ric Flair.
No, not Ric Flair. He's still. The problem is, he has been Ric Flair for so long, he doesn't know how to do anything else.
Exactly.
He has. Remember how they used to say, Vince McMahon used to pay the tab for the $1 Million Man so he could live that gimmick back when kayfabe was a thing. Flair has lived this gimmick for so long that it's like that's him. He doesn't know how to separate himself from this, and it's like he's going to keep on. My 13-year-old daughter's, I was talking to her about it, and she said, Daddy, he's going to end up having a heart attack and dying in the ring. He's too old to be wrestling. And I'm like, you're absolutely right.
I mean, not that we wish that.
No, I don't wish that at all. But that's the reality of somebody with a pacemaker in mid-70s trying to have a professional wrestling match. And I mean, we all saw Ric Flair at the tail end of his career anyway. It was,
he even said, all I had was a chop, a knee drop, and a woo.
That's it. That's all he had left.
I mean,
and I mean, that was fine because he was mid-50s when he retired. Well, yeah, when he retired, because I don't count the TNA stint because that was just sad.
No, that was, I need money.
Yeah, for me, his retirement was when Shawn Michaels beat him.
When Shawn Michaels said, "I'm sorry, I love you," in the face, and then kicked him in the face.
Yep, that was it. And it's like, just let it go. I mean, you're arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. What more do you need? I mean, you were a whole generation's inspiration for getting into wrestling. Accolades upon accolades. It's like, is your ego that big that you just can't let it go?
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more, and plus some of the other great news stories. But first, I want to go ahead and give our contact and listing info. If you'd like to email us, just send it to armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to find us on Facebook, it's Armchair Booking Podcast. Find us on Instagram, Armchair Booking Podcast. Twitter, @BookingArmchair. See, because somebody's squatting on Armchair Booking. I really wish I knew who it was too. But anyway, you can find a TikTok at Armchair Booking. I haven't done anything on there in a couple months, but I'm actually thinking about trying to get it back up and running again. Might actually ask our good friend Big Fat, for some advice, because he's back up and running.
Yeah.
He kind of took a little bit of a hiatus because he's going through some personal issues. But now he's back up and running again. And he's a very good friend of mine, Waylon. And he actually came on our show one time to talk about social media and wrestling, because he is a TikTok giant. I mean, actually, his follower count dropped. It's only at 1.2 million right now. Yeah. So, but you can also find us obviously on YouTube. If you're watching this, you already know we're on YouTube. Hopefully, if you have a friend who is showing you this, hopefully they're subscribed. Go to it. You can subscribe yourself. We always look for more subscribers, and because more subscribers give us more ideas, and they give us more feedback. So we're always looking to hear that. But on audio platforms, we're on just about any kind of audio platform that you can think of. If we're not there, let one of us know, and we would do what we can to get added. Especially now if you use Apple. I don't know about the other ones, but I know Apple, you can actually go and give us a review. You can go give us a rating, give us a 5-star rating, give us a review. Let us know how we're doing. That only helps the show. And you can also find our merch at tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast. They have t-shirts, they have pillowcases, they have coffee mugs, they have masks, if that's your thing. If you want to, I'm talking like the COVID mask. I'm not talking like a wrestling mask. I do have a couple of those, but not for the podcast. That's our next thing we need to see if we can make. But
hey, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would. And you can always find Dwaylen at fat_daddy73. Yeah, fat_daddy73. All I do is just start, and it just automatically fills it in. But that's his Twitter handle. Find it. I am him, because we've actually been adding some Twitter followers.
Yeah, we have.
Yep, because one of the podcasts I always give a shout out to is Ted the Hillbilly Hill. We need to contact him back, because now
yes, we do. Yeah,
now he has invited us to be on his show. I am looking forward to that. So whenever we can get our schedules deconflicted, and so then try to deconflict with him.
Yeah.
Because 3 people try to deconflict sometimes, but I don't think it'll be as hard. Maybe we can, but we'll see, because I have a whole lot of stuff going on, and you also have a whole lot of stuff going on, because Dwaylen also has his own YouTube channel he does with his family called Big and Fat.
Yep.
Because Big Mama, Fat Daddy.
And it's just me, just my wife with married with children. So
yep,
that's
and
pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Yep. So, and one of his kids can hold him down and tickle him. The other one beats him in chess. And Avi just looks at you and gives you the puppy dog look.
Oh yeah, she just gives me the face, and I'm just like, here you go.
Here you go. What do you want? The cheeseburger? Here you go.
It's like, here you go.
I don't need to eat. But
yeah, she's very spoiled, and it's partially my fault, but I'm only admitting that because my wife's not in the room, because I always blame her for it.
That's right. We'll make sure she doesn't watch this at all, even if I send her the link and say you need to watch it right about the 10-minute mark. But anyways, she may actually record this part.
She might just clip it and just send it to me all the time.
Like, guess what's going on the Big Fat Channel now?
Yeah, it's like right here.
Right here. But I believe that is everything.
Oh no,
Cubicle chat. Yes, thank you very much. I don't know how I forgot that, because we recorded an episode last night of I call it my brand new podcast called the Cubicle Chat, because this is all part of Dwaylen and we're building an empire. We have this with
social
each
media,
other. And then we got the other 2 channels that are joining that. But last night I recorded an episode with my daughter. We were talking about movie franchises, or actually really franchises that are more than just movies. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it yet.
No, I haven't yet. I'm gonna try to check it out tomorrow while I'm working.
And while we were talking about it, I said, you know what, Wikipedia's got to have a definition of what a franchise is. Because one thing, it's like, well, really, what is it? Then look, and it actually had a list of things that are considered franchises. I was very surprised.
Really?
Yeah, because something I was always thinking movies, but I wasn't thinking like Pokemon is considered a franchise.
Yeah.
So it started out as a video game, and then it branched off from there. And now it's something that people will get mugged for and get hit by cars for, and go into wrestling rings under a ladder for during the middle of a match. I'm looking at you there, Ron. R-Truth, Goldust.
Yeah.
And it was funny. But
it was.
They're looking for Pokemon. But anyway. And you know what? I mentioned Ted, the Hillbilly Hill, on the Hill Truth podcast. I can't forget about Justin and Trey at the Justin and Trey podcast, and also True Crime Cast and Bless Their Hearts. You got to go check them out. They're not wrestling, but the 2 guys who run it, they have been on Chris Jericho's podcast 3 times. Yeah. So, and he's actually been on theirs, but it's really interesting why he was on theirs, because he actually went to school with a guy who ended up becoming a serial killer. He was actually good friends with the guy.
Wow.
Yeah. So so that's how the connection, and so they're friends with Jericho. And of course, granted, Jamie, one of the guys, he actually told me, he's like, "You're gonna have Buff? I'm jealous." I'm like, "I'm jealous of you. You've been on Jericho show. So you've been on there twice." And he's like, "Well, next week we want them in there again." I was like, "So yeah, they've been on there 3 times. They're great guys. They really are. Great shows. Go check them out." So, but as we get back to our show, which is all about the wrestling. So Ric Flair, like I said, has decided he's going to get back in the ring for his final match.
I'll believe it when I see it. Final match.
Well, unfortunately, I think that, he'll still be trying to, wrestle up until, until they actually put him in a coffin. He may still be trying to wrestle.
And my thing is, he trained for this comeback. He trained with Jay Lethal. Why is Jay Lethal not discouraging him from doing this match? It's like nothing good can come out of this.
I'd say grab a piece of paper, draw an S, and then put 2 lines through the top, going through the bottom. That's probably the reason why.
Probably, but it's not something I want to see. I don't know who actually wants to see Ric Flair in his mid-70s wrestling a match, and I believe it's at the Nashville Fairgrounds.
It is during Starcast, the weekend of SummerSlam. So you are going to be in the area the next day for SummerSlam. Very tempting, isn't it?
No. No. Sorry. No. If it was 50-year-old Ric Flair, I'd definitely go check it out. But 74-year-old Ric Flair as a pacemaker, just no. I mean, when he retired, he's like you said before. He said he had an elbow drop,
a chop, a knee drop, and a
chop,
woo.
Chop, a knee drop, and a woo. Yeah, that's all he had left then.
Now, Grant, if you ever hear him say it, it's actually a lot funnier when he says it. You know,
I mean,
but it's still.
Yeah, I mean, that was what, 20 years ago almost.
I mean, it was been 23 years ago when he was 50.
Yeah.
You know, so my daughter just turned 20, so he was 53 then. And what year was the WrestleMania match against Shawn? That was around like 2010, 2011-ish.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in his late 50s, early 60s then.
Yeah, because it was WrestleMania 24.
Wow. But nobody, I mean, I can't think of anybody who wants to see it. In fact, there's also been some other news that has come out about that. He was wanting Ricky Steamboat to be his final opponent, which I understand why.
I get it. He has said on numerous occasions that Ricky Steamboat was his greatest rival.
Yeah.
But Ricky Steamboat turned it down.
Yep. And he said, because Ricky Steamboat said my last match was against Chris Jericho in 2009. I don't want to come back. And he said, because he said, it wasn't a knock on Flair. It was Steamboat saying, you know, I don't want to get back in there and people look at me because he's not in ring shape.
Yeah.
He should have just stayed retired.
Yeah.
You know, but he was talking about himself. He wasn't talking about Flair.
Yeah.
Now, Conrad Thompson apparently has taken exception to that comment too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not a fan of, I mean, even though Conrad, you know, and Conrad Thompson is Ric Flair's son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
He's married to Flair's oldest daughter, Megan. And he met her through Rick when he and Rick, had met somehow, and they had their first podcast. And that's how he met Megan. And then like a year later, he proposed. A year after that, they got married. And so he's part of the Flair family. And he has more money than like anybody. Apparently, he's like, he's like, they keep calling him the second wealthiest man in the state of Alabama. And he has like the Conradison, which apparently is big enough. It has its own elevator.
Wow.
Yeah. So Conrad Thompson, he'll tell you his first job though is mortgages, not podcast. That started as a hobby, and then now it's grown to 7 a week that he's on, plus other ones he's kind of sponsoring, like the Hardy, Matt Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so but that's Conrad Thompson. He's actually expressed concern about Rick wrestling again, but not enough to where he's going to stop him.
No, nobody's going to be able to stop him. Rick's going to do whatever he wants to do, regardless. I mean, he always has.
Yeah, that's why he's gotten in trouble. That's why he's been married 5 times. And
to the detriment of his personal life and professional life. He's just, if he's hell-bent on doing it, he's going to do it.
Yeah. But the other possible opponent is Ricky Morton.
Okay.
I mean, that's
because Ricky Morton can still go.
And Ricky Morton never stopped. That's the thing. I mean, he's always,
Yeah. This is he's on his this is his farewell tour.
Yep.
Because he's going to focus on his son's career.
Yep.
And so this is, I mean, that I'm not saying the match is going to be good, but I'm saying Ricky will be able to protect Rick and keep him from hurting himself.
Maybe. I mean, he's got to not get hurt himself. But like we said, though, I mean, he's it's when you get hurt in wrestling is when you not do it for a while.
Yeah.
And then you try to get in there and start taking bumps again.
Yep.
Well, it's like for any guitar players out there, you'll definitely understand this. If you don't play guitar for a while, well, your fingers, then you go back and play it again. Your fingers do not have the calluses built up. And so it's going to hurt.
That and it's muscle memory too.
Yep.
If you're wrestling all the time, your body's used to that impact, and how to, your body automatically knows how to brace for that impact because you're used to it night in and night out. You go all this time with not wrestling, you don't have that muscle memory anymore to take those bumps and not get hurt.
Right.
And Flair's taking a Canadian Destroyer too, because Ricky Morton can hit that especially for his age. He can hit a Canadian Destroyer about as good as Petey Williams, and Petey Williams is the one that came up with it.
Oh, and you got to think Ricky and Robert. Robert Gibson is tag team partner in Rock on Express. For those who, for some reason, don't know, because if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already knew this,
right?
Just a couple years ago, they wrestled on AEW.
Yeah, they wrestled on AEW. They were in the when the NWA revived the Crockett Cup tournament. They were in that.
So I mean, and I didn't see all the match on AEW. I don't know if they threw the double drop kick or not.
They did.
They did. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, these two guys that are up in their 60s, and Ricky Morton. If you've ever seen shoot interviews with him, it's not like he was ever in really good shape. You never looked at Ricky Morton and said, "Oh yeah, that dude's cut."
Yeah.
He drank. He chain smoked. I mean, it was.
He looked like your neighbor down the street that drove a truck.
Yeah.
I mean,
it drove probably a jacked up truck.
Yeah.
With a gun rack, no gun, but a gun rack.
Yeah.
And one side is kind of rusted out above the wheel where somebody probably hit it and it started rusting out. It's not been fixed, and it's got a muffler problem.
Yeah. That's what I always liked about the NWA, and AEW has that feel too, to where really Luger, Sting, and the Road Warriors stood out because they were the only ones that looked like bodybuilders. Everybody else was in ring shape, but they just look like average people. They look like everyday guy. Dusty Rhodes. Triple H said Dusty Rhodes looks like your neighbor that was an over-the-road truck driver.
He did. Exactly. I mean, that is a perfect description.
Exactly what Dusty Rhodes looked like. I mean, you look at Tully and Arn. They were in ring shape, fantastic ring shape. Cardio was.
They were built. They were built like football. Well, they were both football players. Tully played at
exactly. They were built. And they were built like you said, like football players. Football
but not
players
super
are not
jacked up, but
no, not looking like Triple H or Batista,
right?
But
bigger than us.
Yeah, bigger than us, better shape, better shape than us. So and that's how Ricky Morton was and still is. He just looks like your neighbor.
Yeah,
he just happens to be able to beat everybody up. So
I read in one of the after mags, obviously, like when I was a teenager, I still remember this. There was something described Dusty Rhodes as that guy who's hanging out at the bar all night drinking beer on a Saturday night and then goes out Sunday morning and hits 3 home runs playing softball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clip.
Yeah. And I saw a clip on Twitter where this was back during the Jim Crockett promotion days. They had like a celebrity basketball game, and it was like a bunch of wrestlers versus
I saw that recently. Yeah.
And Dusty's running the floor, doing layups, getting back on defense. And I'm like, to look at Dusty, you would think Dusty's gonna plant his feet and never move. But Dusty had some of the best cardio. I mean, if you're hanging with Ric Flair for 60 minutes, you've got cardio. And Dusty would hang with Flair for 60 minutes.
And did you ever watch the when they had the WWE, when they had their In Demand, they had those roundtable discussions?
Yes.
And you'd see smoke cover around Dusty, and every once in a while you'd see he'd have a cigarette.
Yeah.
That he wasn't like trying to hide it, but I mean, it wasn't.
But he wasn't just sitting on camera, but right. You could see it.
You could see it. I mean, and he smoked cigars. I mean, cigars when it comes to cardio, because you're not supposed to inhale cigars.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a good way to make your lungs explode if you inhale a cigar. I can tell you that from experience. And
yeah, me too. Because
you're not supposed to inhale those.
First time I ever smoked a cigar, I did that, and I'm like, I inhaled, and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, and I mean, and I was a smoker from you knew that for many years, and when you smoke cigarettes, you go put a cigar in your mouth, and it's hard not to inhale because you're so accustomed to it. It's hard to go. Knows it. But apparently the nicotine's strong enough, it goes like through your cheeks and things like that. And that's why people who smoke cigars a lot of times get mouth cancer.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was just, Dusty Rhodes was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, with the stuff that somebody his size, somebody in his shape, we're talking like out of shape.
Yeah.
Should not have been able to do. The man's throwing drop kicks, not pretty drop kicks, but they were drop kicks.
But I mean, Dusty was 300 plus. I mean, 300 plus guys. I mean, okay, in this day and age, it's different. These bigger guys now are just freaks of nature. But back then, 300-pound guys didn't leave their feet. You didn't see Hogan throwing drop kicks.
No. And Dusty's coming off the top rope doing a flying body press.
Yeah.
I mean,
the fact that he could even climb to the top rope and stay steady.
And he did it a lot.
Yeah.
And man, he had the charisma, could just talk people into loving him. As kids, sometimes I'm like, I don't know why I'm cheering for him. Yeah. Because it seems like he's always, but then you get in there, you forget all that. You're like, oh yeah, go Dusty. Woohoo. American dream. Yeah. And, but, if Dusty was still with us, I don't think he would be trying to get back in the ring.
No.
Because Dusty did have an ego. I mean, that's been talked about. In fact, not long before he died, Steamboat was actually on Flair's podcast. I think it was his first, rendition of his podcast. And he was actually talking to Dusty, and he was not saying very flattering things about him. It was because of Steamboat's run in NWA Mid-Atlantic, which ended in late 84, early 85. And this was during the time when I first started watching, but he said, he had a program with Tully Blanchard for the TV title, and he had been chasing him. And even at Starrcade, where they had the no run rule waived on, Tully, where if he got disqualified or counted out, he'd lose the title. And he still retained. And then Dusty comes out, one match against Tully, takes the title.
Wins the title. Yep.
And so, I mean, that made Steamboat look really bad.
I mean, it really did, because I mean, you're chasing this guy for months. You get the title match, and then he still retains, and then the next guy in line wins the title first match.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it was with a foreign object. It was one of the things where Steamboat went to do the sunset flip. Blanchard, the referee, didn't see it. Blanchard reached in his trunks, grabbed. It was probably a paper cup wrapped around his hand, but Jim Cornette's actually come out and said a lot of times those weird looking things that he said they were paper cups, like tape on them. So some things that you learn, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so Steamboat's like, that just totally killed his character, because it's like, I chased this guy for months, couldn't beat him. Dusty fights him once.
Yeah.
Takes the title.
It takes the title. Yeah.
So that's when Steamboat left for the WWF. And you got to think, was it about a month before the first WrestleMania? Steamboat was in the Mid-Atlantic, and he wrestled at the first WrestleMania. Yeah. So I don't remember against who. No, he was Matt Bourne, who later on became Doink. Yep. So, but anyway, back to Flair and Steamboat. And kind of a segue. You got Steamboat said he doesn't. He's declined. He respectfully declined. He's like, I don't want to do it. but Flair doing, I don't think you should do it. You know, and I know you said you don't think you should do it.
No, when I first heard about it, I'm like, this is not a good idea. I mean, it's just like I told you before. He literally a couple of years ago, he was at death's door, literally.
Yeah.
And I mean, why would you risk that for one match? And it's like somebody was saying on Twitter that like he's wanting to go out on his own terms. He did that already. That was the whole point of the match with Shawn Michaels. He went out on his own terms.
If he's trying to make everybody forget about the plane ride from hell, he can't.
You can't. It's
you know what? Because all they have to do is listen to the episode we recorded from several months ago, right after the Dark Side of the Ring episode came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go look at our archives. It's there. Plane ride from hell. 19 years later, the fallout continues. So, yeah. So I'm saying now I'm just kind of referencing our old. Yeah. Maybe people can let you go give it a listen. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe I learned something. Give us some more feedback on that. But some of the other news, and this is actually the first thing that we were talking about because it happened Monday night, and if my internet had been working Monday night, we may have been able to record it. And Tuesday night we couldn't because you actually had something pretty important going on. Your father-in-law was a jailer.
Yeah, he was running for re-election for Marshall County jailer, which he won. So we're good for another 4 years until the election comes back up.
So there you go. If you're in Marshall County messing around, we know people.
Yeah.
So yeah, couldn't record Monday because of technical issues on my end. Couldn't record Tuesday because you had some stuff that there's no way you could have focused on this when that was going on. Wednesday night you had to celebrate what happened Tuesday night. And that I was recording the cubicle chat, with my daughter.
Yeah.
So we're making things work. There, failure is not an option.
Nope.
And so here we are. It's another week with only one armchair booking episode. However, we're going to try to make it count. And so the big news came out Monday night that Sasha Banks and Naomi, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, walked into John Laurinaitis' office, put the belts on his desk. They had their suitcases in hand, and they're like, "We out."
Yep.
And there's been two sides of the story, but go ahead.
They were saying that, and it's like a lot of people are just focused on that part where they're just like, oh, well, they laid their belts on this desk and they left. And it's like, there was a lot leading up to that. For anybody who doesn't know, the original plan for Raw was a 6-pack challenge to determine the number one contender for Bianca Belair's Raw Women's Championship to be defended at Hell in a Cell. My personal opinion, it was a dumb match from the start. The concept was dumb because it's like all you had to do was put Becky and Asuka in a one-on-one match with the same stipulation, which they ended up having to do because they had to completely rewrite the main event when Naomi and Sasha left. But there was no point in putting your tag team champions in there and a newly formed tag team in there. You all right?
Yeah, I tried to breathe my Kool-Aid. Don't do that. I just recommend, it's actually Crystal Light, but either way, you can't breathe.
No.
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so they have this 6-pack challenge, and from what I understand, Naomi was supposed to pin Nikki Cross. I can't do that Nikki ASH thing. I mean, it's run its course. It's run its course. Put her back to Nikki Cross. But Naomi was supposed to pin Nikki Cross, become the number one contender, and go to Hell in a Cell and challenge for the title. But she was supposed to lose that match. The whole point of her doing that was to put Bianca to help get Bianca Belair over. Bianca Belair is already the champion and she's already over. She doesn't need any help getting over. Also, Sasha was eventually going to go to SmackDown. They were going to eventually send Sasha to SmackDown and have her feud with Ronda Rousey over the SmackDown Women's title. She was going to put Ronda Rousey over and lose that match. In the meantime, the tag team titles are in limbo and were not going to be defended until Money in the Bank in July. So they were upset because they were told back in February is when this idea was floated to them about becoming a tag team, winning the tag team titles and all that. So they were like, okay, so we're going to, we've got this opportunity to build up the division. And, they went all out, and they've got, they got a tag team finisher. They've got, matching gear. They have really good chemistry as a team and all that. And then it's like, oh, well, we threw you a bone over here, but now we're going to use you to get our two champions over. Bianca's already over. And if you've got to get people to still get Ronda Rousey over, then she has no business being the SmackDown Women's Champion to begin with.
Boom.
Because if she can't, Bianca Belair got herself over. She was over when she was in NXT, and that carried over to the main roster. If Ronda Rousey's not over, a lot of that's on Ronda Rousey because of her attitude towards the fans while she was gone.
Yep.
And I know not everybody can cut a promo. To me, that shouldn't be a requirement to be a big star, to be able to cut a good promo. But Ronda always looks like she does not want to be there. She looks like she wants to be anywhere else but in a wrestling ring. Then stop taking those checks and go home.
Exactly. I mean, she's doing it because she wants a paycheck. I highly doubt she ever goes back to UFC. And honestly, I mean, and I do feel kind of bad for her just because her confidence is absolutely shot. Because,
yeah.
I mean, because she went from being, like you say, Ronda Rousey. I mean, it's like, oh, Ronda Rousey. I mean, she's, she is the toughest woman in UFC, and she's better than most men. And
the thing is, she was amazing until she had to stand up and box somebody. That was the thing. That's the same thing that caught Brock Lesnar. When Ronda Rousey's on the mat, she was untouchable. Nobody was getting her. But Holly Holmes had a background in boxing and kickboxing. Ronda wasn't used to having to stand up and throw hands with somebody. And that's what caught her.
And, and I don't know a lot about UFC and the fighters, but from what I understand, Holly Holm was kind of like Buster Douglas.
Yeah. Fact, it was out of nowhere. Yeah, because the next, I believe
she lost
the next title defense, she lost it. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like Buster Douglas, he didn't hold the title that long. I mean, he was able to beat Mike Tyson, and that's what he'll always be known for, which is a pretty big thing. I mean, he was the first person to beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And Mike Tyson, he did lose other bouts later on, and then he tried to bite a dude's ear off. And, so he kind of lost it. But Mike Tyson has also kind of come back around too. Mike Tyson, that dude, he's become hilarious. I mean, he's become like
he really has. Yeah.
And he's had some nice sayings, like, the problem with the people on the internet is they think they can just get away with anything without getting punched in the mouth or something like that.
I have a Mike Tyson t-shirt that says everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yep. And but Mike Tyson, I mean, he did, even though like I said, he did lose a couple more matches after that. But I mean, you could tell once you lose that first one, especially when you're I mean, people think, man, they're never going to lose. All of a sudden, boom, they lose.
Yeah.
And well, Ronda Rousey, same way. She lost that first match against Holly Holm, or Holly Holmes, or Holm.
I think it was Holm.
Holm. Yep.
HOLM. Yeah.
HOLM. Lost that one. Then she trained up. All right, I'm gonna come back. And then she immediately lost the next fight. And I've actually read, things. She actually said she was suicidal. I mean, because she went from being up here to all of a sudden, boom, and she didn't do anything outside. It was just because she lost twice.
And that's the thing. And I mean, nothing against anybody's mental health issues, but as far as being a fighter, I feel like she's not the only one. I feel like a lot of these fighters, they ride that high when they're going unbeaten, and then that first loss, it's like they don't know how to lose. And eventually somebody's going to call your number. Somebody's going to be, I mean, nobody's going to go, especially in a combat sport, nobody's going to go undefeated forever. Somebody's eventually going to get you.
And, the two people, I mean, that may have been the only match they ever won, but it was against the people considered to be the best in the world at the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, their ticket is also punched.
Yeah.
They may have lost, every other match after that. Their record may have been 1-500, but guess what? That one win was against the best.
Right.
So therefore, at least a couple of months, they were the best in the world.
Yeah.
But
now you've got Ronda as a SmackDown Women's Champion, who they need Sasha Banks to help get her over. And it's like, then why is she holding the belt if she needs to get over?
If
you're supposed to be over before you get the belt.
Before you get the belt.
Not get the belt and then need help getting over.
See, and that's when it comes down to them using the belt as a prop. Use the belt, the strap, whatever you want to call it, to represent something. I mean, in this case, it's supposed to represent the best women's wrestler on the SmackDown brand. Now, I wish they would just unify the titles.
I do too, because at this point, it's like everybody's on Raw. There's nobody for her to even wrestle on SmackDown.
Right.
But back to Sasha, it's like, and Naomi, I don't blame them at all for being frustrated. It's like, and this is the second time with Sasha with the tag titles.
I was going to say this is not the first time Sasha's walked out, which kind of makes her very comparable to Stone Cold.
It does, but I'm glad that wrestling is in a position to where wrestlers can stand up for themselves without fear of this is the only place I have to work.
Right.
Because it used to be, especially after WCW and ECW closed and before TNA, got bigger, and WWE was it. So people did whatever ridiculous thing that John Laurinaitis or Vince McMahon or whoever was in charge wanted them to do, because where else am I going to go to work? There's nowhere else for me to go. Now there's so many options that people don't have to put up with crap. And I get that they're under contract, but the contract things for me in wrestling it's iffy, because you call them independent contractors. If that's the case, which means they should be able to come and go as they please. They should be able to work at other places if they want to. You can't call them an independent contractor and then try to lock them into a contract where they can only wrestle for you. That is the exact opposite of what an independent contractor means.
That is a non-compete clause, which means that they were an employee.
Exactly. But they stick with the independent contractor. That way they don't have to pay health insurance.
Exactly. I mean, and I will give WWE and Vince McMahon credit. If one of their wrestlers does get hurt, they actually will pay for them. They've done it in the past. They pay for people to go to rehab. They pay for the hospital bills. I mean, so they have taken care of people. But you're right. I mean, they should have some kind of health insurance.
They should have some kind of health insurance, some kind of retirement plan. That's why I still believe there needs to be some type of union in pro wrestling, because, I mean, not everybody is going to save their money. It's just human nature. Oh, I'm making this money, I can do this. And then stuff happens, and then you're not making that anymore. And it's like, what do you do now? I'm training right now to be a personal financial planner. I mean, in fact, I had training right before, we started recording here. And that's some of the things that we talk about is, like you said, most people do not have most people don't. Yeah, most people do not have a plan. And I mean, honestly, with the way the world is now, a lot of people, it's hard to save money. I mean, a lot of people,
it is becoming definitely harder and harder.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're living check to check, it's like for a lot of people, it's like you're doing good to pay the essentials and keep food on the table, much less have some extra to put back.
All right, look at the text I just sent to you. it's a meme. I will say that. And once you start laughing, and then I'll tell the listening audience what it is.
Yep.
It says we're about $1 away from people calling into work out of gas.
Yep.
And that is, I mean, even though we're laughing about it, but it's true.
It's true. I filled Hope's van up Tuesday. We had half a gallon still in the van. We had half a tank still in the van. Still cost me $56 to put half a tank of gas in the van, and that was at $4.09 a gallon.
Oh, that's right. You're in Kentucky where it's cheaper, which sounds wild. That $4.09. Yeah. Oh, it's cheaper.
Which that was in Benton, Kentucky, which gas is usually cheaper there. It's usually at least a good 30 cents cheaper than it is here in Paducah. Because here in Paducah, it's $4.39 a gallon here. And I have Walmart Plus, so I get 10 cents off a gallon each time. So I always make sure I go to the Murphy's gas stations because they're
Walmart affiliate.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So it was so I get 10 cents off each time because it was $4.19 in Benton. But yeah, $56 to put half a tank of gas in the van.
And I mean, that's what I feel, because I put gas in my car yesterday, and it's a Ford Fiesta. That's the car I'm driving now. I no longer have the Mini Cooper because too many mechanical problems, and we got tired of paying thousands of dollars. So that's another thing that'll keep you from saving money.
Yep.
And I'd have to look at the receipt again, but I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get gas again, probably one more time within the next week before payday gets here. Am I going to have enough money to put gas in the car just to take me to work to pay for the gas I'm putting in the car?
I mean, I'm extremely thankful for my job because they're still, we're still working from home. So I don't have to, because I mean, I'm an hour away from my office. So if I had to work at the office, that's an hour drive one way. And I mean, that's a lot of gas.
It is. I mean, and just like, my drive is about 45 minutes. And and I'll tell people, yes, I mean, I chose to live here, just like, you chose to live there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we have to like it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, and that's why, the Mini, I mean, it was a Mini Cooper Countryman. I mean, it got about 33 miles to the gallon, where this Ford Fiesta also gets about 33 miles to the gallon. So it's not been having any kind of mechanical problems, because the Minis, like the mechanic told me, he said Minis are great cars up until they started having any kind of mechanical issue. And he said, then it's like one after another after another.
I've heard that about Kias too. It's like Kias are great until that one thing happens, and then it's like a domino effect, and it just stuff keeps happening.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, it does make it hard to save money. Just like you said, the wrestlers, I mean, that was one of the things, I guess, Jim Ross, and Jim Ross, I could see this because he does seem like the guy that would try to teach the young ones. Look, he said, it's not what you make, it's what you save.
Yep.
And pay your quarterlies. You don't pay because, I mean, they have to do the 1099 thing. 1099, right? Yeah. Yeah, they have to do the 1099, which means that you have to pay your taxes quarterly, which means if you don't pay it quarterly, now you're going to get penalized. So now you're going to be paying even more money.
Yep.
And, I mean, I've known people personally that they were, a lot of them were in the military for, however long, and they got used to that. And all of a sudden, they made a job where, okay, you have to pay your own taxes. Well, if you've had a job for so long where you never had to worry about that, you honestly just don't know about it. Just
that's like I worked at a factory for like 10 years almost, and we worked a lot of overtime, and people got to the point where I know this one guy who went out and bought a new boat and a motorcycle because, I mean, we were working 60 hours a week for like months and months and months on end. But then when winter came, at that job, it was always feast or famine. We were always working a ton of overtime, and you had a bunch of extra money, or you were barely getting by in the wintertime because, nobody's building houses, so nobody's buying windows.
Right.
and because that's what I worked was a window factory. And so we were working a lot of like short hours, like 25, 30 hours a week. And you go
Mm.
from, that's, you're cutting your pay, you're cutting that in
Uh,
half.
Especially if you're working 60 hours, which means you're actually getting paid for 70 hours
Uh-huh.
because of the time and a half for your 20 of
Yep.
those hours.
Yep.
And then you go from that, yeah, you're actually less than half.
Mm-hmm. You're going from that because like a lot of us had to get partial unemployment to kind of make up the gap from during
Mm.
the winter and the spring because yeah, it was pretty light. But
And see, and I'd be willing to bet that wrestling also does not pay into unemployment.
oh, I'm sure it doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, you take care of all that yourself, and I've
Yeah.
never heard of anyone pay. I mean, of course, I mean, you always hear about people paying into Social Security, and they pay
Mm-hmm.
in, they have to pay their taxes. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody even mentioning paying into unemployment.
Mm-mm. I haven't
And
either.
yeah, so and that's one of the things with Sasha and Naomi, with them walking out, and with the contract situations, because that was actually something else. I read it literally right before you came on. Was one of the other reasons why Naomi may have walked out is because her contract's about to expire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Her contract's about to expire and she's probably there. I mean, I don't know for sure because I haven't heard this, but it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't trying to offer her like a lowball deal.
yeah, thinking, well, your husband's here,
Yeah,
but
exactly. They're
you know
that's
what? How many of them have left while their spouses,
hmm
you know,
here's the thing. It's like I have no issue with them leaving. Some people are like, well, it was unprofessional and all that. And I understand that
it
from a
may have
bit.
been handled a little better, but I mean, I still back them up as far as the reasoning why.
Yeah, especially when they've talked to multiple people throughout the day.
Hmm.
It wasn't just they talked to John Laurinaitis, didn't get their way and left. They talked to the producers. They were like, well, why don't we have, if we're trying to set, because the whole point, they were using the 6-pack challenge not only to get Sasha and not only to get to Bianca's challenger at Hell in the Cell, but they were also using it to get a challenger for Ronda Rousey and to have this little mini feud during the match between Sasha and Naomi and Doudrop and Nikki Cross. They already beat Doudrop and Nikki Cross last week on Raw.
Right.
So that's pointless. Though once again, they've thrown the tag titles to the wayside. And Sasha Banks, and I was watching What Culture News this morning on YouTube, and I 100% agree with Andy Murray. Complete package. Sasha Banks is the greatest women's wrestler WWE's ever had. From top to bottom, just skill, charisma, mic skills, the entire package. I
Okay.
feel like
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel like Sasha is the best that they've ever had. And I also agree with Andy Murray that Sasha Banks should be on the same footing as far as how she's positioned as Roman. Because as far as the women's division goes, she's top of the food chain. I don't care what they say about Charlotte. I don't care what they say about Ronda. With that that crossover appeal that they love, Sasha's got that, and the other two are never going to have that.
Well, one of the things also about Sasha, and it actually took me a while to come around to this, but then when you watch her, I mean, she is very believable
Mm-hmm.
in the ring. Her combo where she does, was it the banks or the backstabber
The
and then the
backstabber right into the bank
bank
statement.
statement?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's a cool combo. And once she would lock them in, and it's kind of like the camel clutch, except for her legs are out to where she, in front of the person, so she's able to get even more leverage.
Yeah.
And I'm
Even
like, yeah.
and she sells injuries so good because I remember in one match, I can't remember who she was wrestling, but she locked in the bank statement, but her opponent had been working on her arm the whole match. So she sold that and used her legs to do the bank statement because she couldn't use one of her
Oh,
arms
wow.
because of the injury.
Yeah.
And just things like that. And it's like, I'm always going to agree with the talent over the management unless it's just something ridiculous on the talent's part. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else is going to do it.
Yep.
And if you don't take a stand, then management is going to think, then I can do whatever I want to, and they will agree to do it because I'm the boss. And I get you're the boss, but it's in any other situation. It's like any other line of work. You should be able to go to your boss and be like, I don't agree with this. How can we fix this? And that's what they were trying to do Monday. And every time they went to somebody, they were just told, you need to fix your attitude.
Yeah. And they won't say who it was.
Yeah. They won't say who the producers were that told them this.
You know what? Who are the producers in WWE right now? We're going to figure this out. We're going to make phone calls.
But it's just they kept getting told by different people, you need to fix your attitude. You get told so many times, fix your attitude when you don't have one. Guarantee you're going to get one real quick. You're going to catch an attitude real quick if somebody keeps telling you to fix your attitude when you're trying to follow the chain of command, so to speak.
Here are the producers. Some of these I forgot about. Chris Parks, also known as Abyss,
okay,
who was trained by Roger Ruffin at the Northern Wrestling Federation. He's the latest NWF Hall of Fame inductee.
Yep.
I'm going to mention that. Devon Dudley, Jamie Noble, Jason Jordan. He's a senior producer. I'm glad he's actually doing something because
me too.
Yeah,
that sucked that he got hurt like that.
Yeah, Kenny Dykstra, Molly Holly, Petey Williams. I'm not sure who Petey Williams is, but
Petey Williams is the inventor of the Canadian Destroyer.
Oh, you mentioned him at the.
Yep, yeah. He wrestled in TNA. He's a former X Division champion.
Shane Helms, Sean Davari, and TJ Wilson. I'm not seeing Bruce Pritchard's name on there, and I'm not seeing
Bruce Pritchard is on SmackDown. He's in charge of SmackDown.
Oh, I mean, well, this just says producers. I mean, it doesn't tell which show they're on.
So, if I'm gonna pick somebody who's out of that group, I'm picking Kenny Dykstra because he has always been known to be a hothead and have an attitude of his own. And that's just my speculation. But either way, they tried to follow chain of command. They tried to get some stuff changed the right way. And people were just like, no. And I think they even talked to Vince, and Vince was not going to budge on what his plans were. So then they were just like, okay, we've had enough.
And this is why they need to actually get the wrestlers' input on their characters, because the wrestlers are the ones
exactly
who know the characters. They should know the characters the best.
Exactly. And it's like, I just don't understand. And it's like, and then did you see the statement that WWE quickly?
Yeah, they did it during the show apparently.
Yeah, it's like they automatically went on the defensive and saying how, you know, Naomi and Sasha were unprofessional and they left the show, and this is a scripted live programming, and you're required to do, you know, whatever you're asked under contract and all this. And it's like, I like the little smear campaign here. Plus they had Corey Graves. Vince McMahon was in Corey Graves' ear having Corey Graves say stuff. Corey Graves gets on my nerves anyway, so I feel like he's a great value Bobby Heenan is what he is.
Great. He's off the Bobby Heenan got from Wish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you could have kept this in-house until y'all came to some conclusion instead of automatically throwing them out there and trying to make yourself in this glowing light. But they don't want to fire either one of them, because if they do, then they're like, they don't want to fire them because they don't want them to go to AEW.
Right.
They said any other in a different time, they would have been fired on Monday when they left.
Just like, I mean, they fired Stone Cold. I mean, he walked out, but he had a valid reason to be upset because they just had him just losing to Brock Lesnar on Raw. And he's like, that makes 0 sense.
Yeah, and he was the same way. He went to Vince and he's like, this is a money match. This is not a throwaway TV match. This is a pay-per-view match. You know, Stone Cold versus Brock Lesnar. He's like, I don't mind putting Lesnar over. I don't mind doing the job.
It's got to be at the right time.
Yeah, that's what exactly. He said it's got to be at the right time, and it's got to be, you know, you want to make money on this. This is a money match. Why would you just throw it away on free TV?
Oh,
make people pay for it.
And of course, actually, you know, Monday night I couldn't even watch a DVR because, like I said, my cable was out.
Right.
But my cable and my internet, it's all one big package. I also have a phone too, but we haven't actually used that landline in like 4 years. But I get it for free though, so
yeah,
so I can't complain. But I saw earlier, apparently on SmackDown, is the tag title unification match.
Yeah, we'll see if they actually go through with that or not.
Exactly.
Well, here's my thing. That's another thing. That is a money match.
Yeah.
Why was this not on pay-per-view?
Yeah, I mean, that one is one. RK Bro against the Usos. That is a match that people would say, you know what, I don't care if it is. I'll pay extra to watch that match. Because that's going to be a good match.
One, you know it's going to be a great match. Two, you're unifying the tag titles. So it's like,
well, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, the concept is you're unifying the tag titles, but again, it's like they're still worried about ratings, and I get ratings are important to an extent, but they're still acting like this is the Monday Night Wars, and the ratings are the most important metric of whether or not a show is successful, and it's just not that way anymore. Not with DVR and, you know, and streaming and things like that. It's just the ratings aren't the only important metric. Really, for me, I would think the ratings are lower on the importance as far as the metrics go of what a good show is.
And they are falling into the WCW traps because the WCW, of course, was a subsidiary of a television company. So to them, ratings were important because they're thinking, well, that's where we make our money through advertisements, things like that. But the wrestling piece, no, you make your money through, well, back then it was pay-per-views. Now with the WWE, they want people to buy the network. So they are trying to do that to get them to buy the network and go to live events.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of any other television show like this, an episodic, because I mean, it has turned into an episodic television show where you would actually go pay to be part of the audience of that particular show live.
Right.
You know, and even if it's not being broadcast, you'll go watch it being performed, just not in front of the cameras.
Yep.
You know, so that is, like you said, I mean, yeah, the ratings are important for them to maintain that presence, especially on terrestrial TV, because even if it is with a flat panel HD antenna, it's still terrestrial TV.
Right.
And of course, they also have USA Network, which, you know, is on cable or satellite, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, so they're going to have to maintain that at least a little bit, but they're still giving away this match for free, which means they're hot shotting it. You know, they're playing on tilt, is a nice poker term. They're going all in every hand. Eventually, you're going to lose all of it.
Oh yeah,
playing like that.
Because I mean, WCW did the same thing with Hogan and Goldberg when they were at the Georgia Dome, and that was the money match. That was the money match of all money matches in WCW at that point in time. That should have been Starcade. That should have been a Starcade match right there. But instead, they were more concerned about
beating WWF
and popping that rating. So they gave it away on free TV.
Yep.
which
And
it did pop a huge rating.
yeah, I mean, they went back
sold
over, and I think that was like the last time they won.
and they sold out the Georgia Dome and all that. But in the end, what good did it do them? I mean, your Starrcade match, which could have been Hogan and Goldberg, and you could have made truckloads of money. Instead, you get Kevin Nash, who books himself to beat Goldberg and win the world title, and you get nothing.
Yep, and yeah,
and then you make a joke of the world title with the finger poke of doom, the next week. So it's like,
and that was also wasted. And that was the same night that they had a real title change on Raw. It was recorded, but that was put a lot of butts in seats.
It put 600,000 people changed the channel to watch that.
Now I'm wondering, because there's some people that have been kind of standing in solidarity with Sasha and Naomi, especially Naomi's husband, Jimmy Uso. I can't think of his actual real name. I think it's Josh. It's instead of Jimmy and Jay, it's Joshua, and I cannot remember. But
I can't either.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, he's standing in solidarity with his wife.
Right.
He's backing her up as he should. They've been through a lot together. I mean, he's also been there when she got arrested. Then he almost got arrested himself. Because she was driving drunk. That is her bad. He's also been caught driving drunk. But you know what? They've actually, I mean, they're a pretty good couple. And I wish they would actually acknowledge that more on TV.
Yeah, I wish they would just go ahead and put her in the bloodline and be done with it.
Yes, that would make so much sense.
I mean, it fits. They're literally married. Put her in the bloodline.
Put her in the bloodline. And, but I wonder if the other news story that has come out just today, and so we can't speak a lot on it because we only know just the preliminaries coming out. I wonder if Stephanie McMahon is also, when she just announced a leave of absence, maybe she's also standing in solidarity with the women.
I don't know. It's possible.
That actually, it is possible because she was when Laurinaitis, when he left, the last time he left, and they said, we are not going to go with divas. These are women wrestlers. And she, of course, was in the forefront of that. She's like, we have a new women's world champion belt, not a divas thing that looks like a butterfly on crack. This thing is a women's belt. Some people like the divas title. To me, I'm not a fan of it because to me it's degrading.
Yeah, I always felt that way too, and it looked like a toy.
It did, and all right, that does not look like a wrestling title. And of course, now all of the titles look the same. It has a big W, and I know you have yours and you like yours, But do you want to collect all of them? Hey, look, they're all different colors. Ooh, red and blue and black.
I just
you have yours. You're good.
I just have mine. I'm good.
And I have mine also. It's that time.
For those on audio only, Steve is holding his replica of the classic NWA World's Heavyweight title belt, the 10 pounds of gold.
The 10 pounds of gold. And to show how good of a replica they did, the Canadian flag is the Canadian flag that was the flag when the belt was originally made back in the 70s.
Awesome.
Yep. So, and I know you have your own big gold. I have the 10 pounds of gold. You have the big gold, which replaced the 10 pounds of gold. The 10 pounds of gold, it's odd. It's actually still around and being used.
I know, right? And Matt Cardona has it.
He has it amongst 8 other titles. But yeah, so Stephanie McMahon, all she said was she's taking a leave of absence. She's going to focus on her family, and I mean, you can't get mad at her. I mean, because she does work. I mean, she works her butt off.
And I know Triple H has scaled back, a lot of his responsibilities, and
I mean, he did for health reasons, very publicized health reasons, and he gave her an interview on ESPN about it, and I mean, you could tell he was pretty emotional about it. He didn't want to step down, but he knew he had to.
Maybe they just want to spend time with each other and their kids, and just take some family time, and you got to respect that. I mean,
3 girls. They have 3 girls. So.
Bless their heart. I've got 2, and
I've got 1. I mean, like I said, she just turned 20, which seems weird to have an adult for a kid. I mean, obviously, there's people older than us who have. Well, I mean, there's people who are our age who have grandkids who are like in middle school.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, so we really, when we're getting old. So but yeah, so as more news comes out about that story, I mean, of course we can talk about it more, but I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me though if she is kind of privately standing
Yeah.
with them, because she doesn't agree with every decision that's made.
No.
I mean, now she puts on the face because, I mean, yeah, she's Vince McMahon's daughter, but I mean, she is also an executive, and I mean, I get, I mean, when you are, once you start going up in positions of influence and things like that, you do have to put on kind of a public, how you, the things you do in public when you're representing the company, because if she were to say, well, I don't agree with it at all, well, I mean, it looks really bad.
Yeah.
So so she may just be this might be her way of quietly stepping down, and plus, I mean, she probably does want to spend time with, their girls, and I can't blame her one bit. I mean, I can't fault somebody for wanting to spend time with their family, especially the kids.
No, I can't either. But like you said, as more of the Sasha, I'm sure, we'll talk about this again, the Sasha and Naomi situation, because I'm sure more information will come out. But I just think it could have been prevented if their concerns had have been actually taken seriously and not just brushed off as, oh, you're being spoiled or having an attitude and things like that. And it's like, like you said, these are professional wrestlers who do this night in and night out. They should have input on what is going on, not just somebody sitting on high being like, okay, I wrote this script, here's what you're going to do, when it makes absolutely no sense to do it.
Right. So, but on that note, and the fact that I think we're actually in our tornado warning, we're starting to get, there's a thunderstorm happening outside my house right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just texting my family going, is it thundering? And my wife came back, are you kidding me? There's a thunderstorm outside. I'm like, okay.
It's like,
so
I have headphones on.
And I texted back. I said, I can't, I heard the thunder, and I was like, so either way, since, we may be under like a tornado. They had a tornado warning in St. Louis earlier.
We had a tornado watch here earlier.
Yep. So it's that time of the year, I guess, spring, is when my tornadoes in this area here definitely gets tornadoes. But I'm going to go ahead and bid you farewell, because we're really that, because I need to go ahead and stop it so I can probably take a little bit of shelter, but we'll figure out, man, I'll throw some ideas at you, for Monday and Thursday, but we'll figure out something to keep all our fans happy, especially whoever it is that is listening to us in Richardson, Texas. Yes, that I can actually look up where the people are
awesome
picking it up. So, so not just this one, but the Cubicle Chat, because I noticed there's been a couple of downloads for the Cubicle Chat in Paducah, Kentucky. Wonder who that could be.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
but yeah, so been getting some downloads, and it very said specifically Richardson, Texas. So whoever you are, thank you. In fact, shoot us an email at armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know who you are. Give us some ideas. Let us know how we're doing. But until then, God bless.
God bless.